Oh, we have other folks beside you. Okay.
We've got the whole
Hello, everybody.
Yes, we have. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to the Jurassic period. Come on over. Feel free. I don't bite. We are home to a lot of the most iconic dinosaurs out there, like Apatosaurus, especially, which was found first here in Quarry 10, just down the road near Dinosaur Ridge in 1877 by paleontologist Arthur Lakes. It's our hometown hero dinosaur. But we also have dinosaurs like Allosaurus, our toothy friend back there. And I would like to know, everyone here can touch the dinosaurs. We request 2 fingers, very basic open. And then the hands down below.
You're more about this.
Apatosaurus was our largest herbivore living in the Morrison Formation. It was not, we can't say friendly, but it wasn't out there eating beef, certainly. And it is not the only gigantic herbivore running around the Morrison Formation. Because what I'm going to do now is send you on.
You're welcome. Hi, welcome. So this is Jurassic 2, and this is a very special place because you're standing on the Morrison Formation, which 150 million years ago is where some of the first bones for the long-necked sauropods like the Apatosaur were found. But here are the original bones that were found in the late 1800s of this animal here. Who knows what this is? What is it? Stegosaurus, right. This place was crawling with Stegosauruses when it was a kind of a savanna, like in Africa, without the grasses. But there are more fossils than just bones. You can find other things that show us prehistoric life. So if you look at this block here, which came out of Dinosaur Ridge, do you see anything that looks like a dinosaur could have been there? Can I get your help? Do you see a dinosaur track? Let's see. Now, a stegosaur foot has 3 blunt toes like this. Can you help me with this? Reach over here and let's put it right in there. That's where a stegosaur walked. That's its rear foot, and right here is where its front leg. And this here, and these are the best stegosaur tracks found. This one is the very first fossil infant stegosaur ever found. And it was also found here, and you can see it's very small, and that baby probably looked like this guy. So it's very special. So now I'm going to send you into Jurassic 3. Okay, let's go. Thanks for coming. Please come back for the full tour, because it's a lot of fun. Where's the
Stegosaurus track that's sort of been discovered in the world. And we think the baby that made it was about that size. So the first thing you've got to think about is that goes into something that's 25 feet long and may weigh 6 tons, something the size of an elephant. Dinosaurs are the fastest growing land creatures that have ever existed in the history of the world. We've got another rock, another juvenile rock. Now I'm talking about Apatosaurus. See this mark in this one, and then these? These are baby Apatosaurus footprints. This is the trackway of one baby, this is the trackway of the second one. And we think the creatures that made these tracks were about that size. So again, think about the idea that that goes into something that's about as long as this building and weighs maybe 35 tons. And it grew incredibly fast and incredibly large. The other thing that's kind of cool about this rock, if I span my hand, you can see these tracks are relatively close together compared to these. And so what we deduced was that this baby was walking, and on this trackway we can see a front footprint. This baby was running, that's why the tracks are further apart. And we can't find any front foot strikes on this trackway. So this little baby was running on his hind legs. And that was unknown to science before this rock was discovered. That's kind of how paleontology progresses. Anybody got any questions? The babies, we think the babies that made these are about that size. So,
Let me show you something.
with that, as you go up the stairs, you'll jump forward about 25 million years in time into the Cretaceous age.
Of that really big one downstairs.
Aren't they both relative?
So the megalodons were actually much
The nano's gone?
those were sharks.
That was on loan.
But these
Was it?
guys, they do have really scary teeth.
Oh, yeah.
But these guys were more ironically,
Put together
they're actually the
and
snake family today.
do all this stuff.
And they're directly related to snakes and monitor lizards, closer to snakes.
That trap's new.
So
Just
very cool. But
Got that this year.
these guys
Where did that
had
one come
those
from?
things, they used to
Western
swim,
Colorado,
they weren't
at the
really
coal mine.
fixed, they were more
Okay.
like paddles,
300 feet
like
down.
sea turtle
Very
backs.
cool.
So they were fixed in a paddle instead
usually they
of
kind of
of that dinosaur, which made the tracks on Dinosaur Ridge, and possibly on the largest end that we've ever seen, which is very exciting. That's from a hadrosaur, so one of those duck-billed dinosaurs. And to give you an idea, that weighs just under 1,000 pounds. So think about, like if we squish our hand in the sand and then that fills in how much our handprint would weigh if it filled in with dirt, probably maybe a pound at the most. So think of how big that animal had to be where its own footprint, when it filled in, weighed that much. But we do know, the average size for them, that was a young adult, if it was that size. That was the size of the animal that made those tracks. But this one would have been about 40 feet, so about twice the length of this room.
So about monosaur size?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But still as a hadrosaur, which is really cool. So very exciting. But this was made in a swamp in western Colorado. What would have been a swamp then, and this was a coastal swamp. So from that same western interior seaway. So this is a swamp that there are a lot of swamps kind of along the coast, but this was more inland, kind of in the forest regions than right up against the coast, but still what we would consider a coastal swamp. But very cool. And this material right here is the stuff that was stuck to the bottom of his foot. We had more of it, but we intentionally took it off because when people come up and if they touch it, then it would have come off on its own. So we were able to preserve that. But you can see pieces of stems and other leaves. All these little black marks, those are pieces of leaves and stems and twigs. It's like if you walked out in the garden right now and you stepped on things, that's the stuff that you swished into the mud. That's literally what this layer right here is. So we're looking at the bottom of its foot. Which is really cool. And all of this is the infill, the dirt that came in and flowed and filled in its footprint. But that was a big animal. That would have, if they were around at the same time, which they weren't, that would have rivaled T-Rex easily in size. But then, of course, we fast forward and we go to the time of T-Rex. Things were even more jungly and green, and then we have a beautiful example of how green even modern Denver was. That wall is a cast of an actual cliff wall in Golden right now that you can see near the fossil trace. Quetzalcoatl. It was Quetzalcoatl.
to mastodon, and these are their teeth. I want you to take a good look at their teeth. Go ahead and feel them. So which one do you think ate grass? And which one do you think liked to eat twigs and leaves? So what did that eat? So our mastodon would have been very good at surviving in forests and eating leaves and twigs, whereas our mammoths lived out on the plains and they would eat grass. They'd be grazers. In fact, our local mammoths were found in association with prairie dog fossils. Because they're out in the prairies eating the grass. So I'm going to pass you on to the Lamb Spring site. And for the next group of people coming in, if you haven't had a chance to feel the teeth, you can get a chance to feel the teeth here. If you look at the tooth from the mammoth, this is a tooth from an animal that like to eat grass. All right, mammoths are grazers. They live out in the plains. They eat grass. This is a mastodon. They live in forests, and their teeth are for eating leaves and twigs. So we have two different elephants, but they're living in different habitats and eating different food. And that's how they get along.
American mastodon?
This is the American mastodon. Yeah, there are mastodons in other parts of the world. They tend to die out earlier in Europe and Asia than in North America. In Europe and Asia, they tend to die out at the beginning of the Ice Age, whereas in North America, they thrive all the way to the end of the Ice Age.
Okay.
So you're going to find these in forested habitats. They are definitely forest dwellers. And they tend to really thrive, their favorite times are actually the interglacial periods between ice ages, because you get a lot more forests. Whereas ice ages is colder and drier and you get more grasslands. So you can, if you want, go ahead and feel the skull. This one that isn't quite fully grown yet, its tusks are still coming in. And it's also got some teeth in the lower jaw. You won't find that on a mammoth, but you can find that on mastodons. And go ahead and feel those teeth as well.
Look at the mammoths.
So they're herbivores, and herbivorous mammals tend to have their eyes on the sides of the skull rather than the front.
Tool makes a little bit of noise. It's called an air scribe. That's not too bad, is it? And it's got a tip that's going really fast like this. And the way it works is we hold it against the rock, and as we press it forward, it chips away little bits of rock. Now, for safety, we have to wear some kind of glasses. So if you slip on, these are smaller, these are bigger. Just some kind of glasses, just so you have a little something in front of your eyes in case a little bit of rock comes popping